Hey y'all, welcome back to the Offstage podcast. I am so fucking pumped on the guests that I have for you today. I found Mary through Instagram, and as I was looking through what she does and what she's all about, I was like, this is something that like I hear all of my clients talk about, because all of my clients are kind of like in their 30s. I know a lot of the listeners to this podcast are also in Mary and I's age group. So I was looking through her stuff and was like, whoa, this is exactly the kind of thing that I hear my clients talking about all the time. Like, I don't know where my career is going because of my age. And so I scrolled and scrolled through all of her stuff and I try to share a lot of what she does because I think it's really helpful to the folks that I work with. And I know a lot of y'all that listen to the podcast are going to get a ton out of what she has to share today. She has so much experience in so many things that I'm just going to pass the mic over to her and let her introduce herself because I don't want to slander it.
Oh my God, thank you. I have followed you for a really long time. I don't even know how long. And so when you reached out and asked if I would be on the podcast, I was like, oh my God, she's so legit. I've just followed your account for such a long time, so I really appreciate that. But I'm Mary, and my big story is that I quit dancing when I was like 18, and I didn't really have a lot of intense training at that time. I didn't think I would be able to like quote unquote make it. And then I found myself taking aerial classes with Jessica J in like my early 20s. I just kind of did it as a hobby and eventually found my way back on stage and started performing again when I was about 30. And since then, I've just kind of gone head over heels for the arts again, and I've always had such a big passion for it. But yeah, I sing and dance, and of course, do some circus stuff as well, and have a full-time job as a professor in communication.
Yeah, yeah. That was what was blowing my mind when I was looking through your website because I knew that I knew you were a performer. I knew that you danced and do circus arts. And then I was looking through your website and I was like, okay, vocalist also. And then I kept scrolling and I was like, okay, and she's a doctor in communications and she is an advocate for domestic violence survivors and a speaker and like a life coach and like all of these things. So Mary just does so much, and I'm so pumped to get into this stuff. The way that Mary got on the podcast was actually because we have a mutual connection. One of my training club clients was in a show with you
hmm
last year, and I don't think that you know this, that she said this to me about you, but she was like, you should totally have her on the podcast. Like everything that she portrays online, like that's really how she is. Like she's such a hard worker. Like it was so inspiring to be in the show with her. So yeah, it's so cool that we have so many like mutual connections, and I'm so glad that you can make it on. And yeah, so with your timeline of how you got back in, I feel like that's really common for a lot of people. Like a lot of people, we dance, we all do ballet and whatever for like at least a month when we're kids.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
through high school, maybe I did. And
Mhm.
then I had kind of the same thing. Like I stopped after high school because it's like if you're not going to be on the college dance team or like go to school for a BFA in dance, like what do you really do, you know? And I had a similar thing, like went to school for psychology and found circus again. So what was that like for you, like getting back into circus? Like, did you feel like you were able to, or into dance in general, did you feel like you were able to draw from your experiences growing up, or was it like new body, new things?
You know, it was definitely a redemption arc, I think. I I danced when I was a kid. We didn't really have much of a dance studio. I come from a really small town. I'd never seen anything like aerial arts or anything like that. I think I'd seen contortion before, like on a family vacation or something. But there was never any way for me to learn anything more than like a cartwheel in the town that I grew up. And so, Eventually, I did. We moved and I started a pre-professional ballet program, and I struggled to keep up because I was like the top of the game at my little tiny dance, Twinkle Toes dance studio, and then I was struggling. And I was struggling mentally too, like some different things had happened, and I just had a hard time in high school, like many of us do, and developed an eating disorder like a lot of dancers do, and eventually decided, well, I really couldn't afford to keep taking the classes. And I also knew that my mental health was really suffering, even though I loved ballet. And so I decided to quit and to heal. And that also came with I really didn't do any physical activity. Like there was no intention to like keep up any kind of fitness. I did not try to eat any certain way. It was just like I'm gonna do what I'm not gonna restrict myself in any way. And so when I found aerial arts, we were several years, I don't know, maybe 23, 24 years old. I had already graduated college. I had tried to do something practical with my life, I guess, and I had done that. So coming back to aerial was circus is such a an inclusive community. If you're in the right space, that's my experience is that it's a really inclusive community. And so it made me want to work out. It made me want to take care of myself in a way that mentally I really hadn't been able to do. And so I do think it was kind of like reclaiming the love I had had for movement and things like that as a kid without the toxicity I had developed from my own mental health struggles as a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of positives of having that gap because I think a lot of people beat themselves up and they're like, "Oh, if only I stayed with it since I was 18, like I could be like those Russian kids."
I mean, sure. Yeah, like I think about
But
that
it's
all
like
the
you need
time.
that maturity.
But yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing I hear from adults as well is like exactly that. Oh, I wish I hadn't given up this time. And like, yeah, yes, there's part of me that thinks, man, if I had just found the way to stick with it. But I couldn't. I didn't. That was not the story that I had. And coming back, I have a whole new perspective that makes me the performer that I am, that gives me the work ethic that I have. I had unlearned so many poor behaviors from my dance school and just myself. You're young, and I just needed time to be in the real world, I think,
Yeah.
and figure myself out, and and you can come back to it later. That's a story. Versus I talked to dancers who did stick with it and now they're my age and they're like, oh, I think I want to go get my degree and become a therapist. Or I want to, I think we all have these kind of turnover moments and
Yeah.
one isn't more right than the other.
Totally. Yeah. It reminds me about Rachel Strickland talks about this a lot, just nothing is wasted.
Yeah.
And she talks a lot about how she like brings all these different experiences that she's had, whether it's just like life stuff, educational stuff, or actual dance stuff, that it's like our culture makes it so easy to be like, oh, well, because you didn't like get to the top with this and like fully complete it, like it was a waste of time. But it's like, wherever you're at, like you're gonna bring all that stuff into whatever it is you're doing now holistically. So that's cool that you feel like you're able to get that and use your experience and also just be like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like
It really
with what path
doesn't.
you take. It's like you could have stuck with it and then not had the opportunity to pursue other stuff now that you're in your 30s. So yeah, is that like the main narrative that you feel like you've had to kind of unlearn at this point in time or something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main narrative that held me back when I was younger was, I mean, one, I just had no idea how you would pursue a career in the arts, even though I really wanted to when I was a kid. I mean, I had no clue how you do that. And I think some of that has to do with we treat the arts somehow differently than we treat any other industry. Where in any other industry, it's okay to be new and a novice in your 20s. It's okay to build your career from nothing. It's okay to be an entrepreneur. And we don't build any of that into, there's no talk around, well, like the business of art, unless you go to school for it. And then, maybe they talk about those things. But I think there's such a big narrative over the arts are reserved for people who are elite in terms of it came naturally to them and they have the resources to be able to capitalize on that. And if you don't fall into that small 2% category, well, then you should go and you should do something where you can make a real living for yourself. And maybe you're allowed to serve on a board, or maybe you can do this or that, or you can have a hobby, but you weren't good enough when you were 18. And so then you don't get to do it. And I think that's such a damaging narrative that we have. And I hope that that's the main thing people get from, or one of the things they get from watching my content is just that we can unravel that together and we can unlearn that together because there's so much power and confidence and self-expression that comes from the arts, whether or not you do it as a full-time job, whether or not you're like quote unquote talented. And talent is something you can build. So I think that's something that I just didn't have the mindset for when I was young. And I was like, well, I'm not good enough. And instead of thinking, well, I could become good enough, um, I gave up.
Yeah, yeah. I relate to that. Like the kids at the dance studio who are celebrated and like put front and center and all that are always like the teacher's favorites. And it really is like Dance Moms is like so silly, but it really is like that, at least in my experience. And it's so funny because I don't like I'm not from LA or New York or any sort of like performing artist mecca. And it's just like some dumb Minneapolis suburb dance studio
Oh my
that
God, and it's so cutthroat in those studios.
yeah.
Like, what? Like,
Yeah, and I think that's like a big reason why I tiptoed back into performing arts as an adult because I totally thought it was going to be the same way. And there's definitely flavors of that, but I think that there are people like you who are being more vocal about like, no, this is how it really is. This is what it's like to be like a real life, like a person living a real life and being a performance artist. And this is what it looks like. And you can just do it and not have it be like this whole thing, like I'm at the top of the pyramid on an episode of Dance Moms.
I've never been on the top of the pyramid waiting for my
Yeah, me
moment.
neither.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And one thing I always like to say is I thought like I went to New York to do a dance intensive I mean, I didn't have any money for dance intensives when I was in high school or anything like that. So my first one, I was 31 years old. And I thought for sure that people were going to be so mean, like, and every teacher out there, every audition I've been to, everyone is so nice. And I'm sure that there are the bitches and like there's the drama that happens when you get to know people and there's like the inner workings of what goes on. But there is a really nice decorum, and I've never had anybody say anything to me that definitely not the way it was in like a dance studio where it's like my ballet teacher made me cry every day.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not like that. At least in my experience going to New York and even training in Vegas and stuff, people are really kind, they're really helpful, they're very um and I think there's something that comes from when you do train at that top level, you have respect for what it takes to learn it and
Mm,
respect for
mm.
people who come to it maybe at a different phase of their life and just want to learn the craft that I don't know that we see sometimes in smaller town studios. Or,
Yeah.
and I think the industry has changed too.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so can you talk a little bit more about what exactly you're doing right now with like traveling to these intensives and like auditions and things like that? Like, where are you located? Where are you going?
Yeah,
What sacrifices are you making to make this stuff happen? It's very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I'll go back for just a second. So I was doing the I was doing aerial arts and I would take a dance class here or there. There's not much. I'm based in Lexington, Kentucky. So there is what there is. Sora Aerial Arts is here. And Jessica J is the owner, and she's amazing. She has so much training. And while I was there, I was like, I saw other adults starting to perform, and they would go off and do like a traincation. I was like, okay, so we're willing to risk like I just do it for fun? Like what? And but then I let myself do it. I did the contortion intensive with Anya Shivalyuk in Vegas in 2020. And
Cool.
that kind of launched me back into really training. And so I trained contortion during COVID and started to think, well, maybe there's a path for me to get back on stage. Um, and my plan was when things reopen, I wanted to get cast maybe in a small show. At that point, my life kind of fell apart in like 2022. So just as things were opening back up, and I had this unhinged moment where I auditioned for a community theater production of Guys and Dolls, so like a golden age musical. And I hadn't sung in so long. Like I'd sung in like little ditty, like I hadn't sung since high school really, and um I hadn't done a musical since high school. I auditioned for it and it was so much fun that I was like, I want to do this. And it reminded me who I was. So I left this abusive relationship I was in and that's when I just kind of went unhinged in this really chaotic pursuit of like, I'm
Good.
gonna do this because I had just turned 30 and my life was I was at this point where you can kind of completely start over who you want to be and like all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I had no idea what to do. The first thing I did after that show, so it's my first musical since high school. The first thing I did was that summer I drove to Atlanta and auditioned for Wicked, like the Broadway tour. And I showed up, I mean, I'd taken one vocal lesson. I showed up with just random pages of music. And thank God, like people only laughed at the funny parts of the song and then just said thank you so much. And I
Yeah.
went home. But I just started and I have so many people who ask, well, I don't know how to start. Well, that's how I started, as I don't know. So then I
Yeah.
kept going to auditions. I was going to all kinds of auditions. I was doing local stuff and I took a trip to New York and then started taking classes up there. And then I realized, okay, I need a lot more training. So at that point, I had gotten a vocal coach, and I was still training circus and stuff like that. I started doing online classes with Steps on Broadway, and then I applied for their summer intensive program. So I did their
Nice.
conservatory program in 2023. I was the oldest person in the program by 1 year. There was another 30
Okay.
something, but truly, when we found each other, we were like, "Oh, we're the old ladies," you know. Um,
Yeah.
and but it was fine. I think a lot of people are worried, oh, they're gonna see how old I am. They're gonna worry about like everybody is so worried about
Yeah.
themselves. They are
Well,
not
you are that old, so
your
they must
age
be.
or how old you are or what you look like or any of that. They're concerned with their own insecurities. And so I did that and since then I've just been going back and forth mostly from New York to train. So I've been to New
Okay.
York, I think 10 times in the last calendar year or something like that. And I'll go and I audition and I take classes and I build connections and things like that. I sometimes do circus gigs up there, so I got connected with an entertainment company there. And just do a smattering of different things. So this
Yeah.
month I've done a handful of oddball gigs from human statues to like aerial bartending, plus I'm in a play, like a local play. It's a Wonderful Life with my partner. Um,
Awesome.
and so that's really fun. I'm strength training several days a week. I'm written a one woman show. So that's gonna go up in January. And
Yeah.
then
I want to
just
hear more about that later.
yeah, so I mean, that's a really long answer, but that's kind of like it's a little bit of everything, but I'm just making my own path
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
following my bliss on that. And I've been taking college dance classes again. And so yeah, it's been good.
So, yeah. there's a good mix of curiosity and softness and determination and sacrifice. Like it's like this is just what needs to happen. Like I need to be on this train to New York to go do this. And some people might not be willing to, pay for the train and take that commute and all that, but it's like it sounds like you have like such a good balance of like this is just what needs to happen. I'm in acceptance about that, but also just like I'm just like you said, just like following your bliss and following the curiosities and just being like I don't need to live and die by every decision, you know? So it's really cool to
That's
see.
a really nice way to put it.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. So, okay, obviously, I want to hear more about the strength training and the conditioning. Like, what is that looking like right now? Like, what's really important for you as far as like performance and longevity, and what are you doing? How is it affecting you?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the summer, I have worked out pretty consistently over the last like 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Um, I I had auditioned, and I didn't get into any shows that I was really hoping to for the summer because that's kind of where the Broadway track is like you do these regional productions that are like kind of more high level than maybe your local stuff, and then hopefully that launches you into a tour or whatever. I didn't get into those, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? So there's a woman here, Amber Connor, started a dance strength program in Lexington. And I contacted her and I did a strength intensive with her. She's got like a exercise science background and a dance background. And I trained 4 or 5 days a week over the summer while
Cool.
I did a couple of dance shows, 90-minute sessions, and try to kick it into high gear. Since then, I just have to be gracious with myself. Like, I still have a full-time job and I'm working overtime right now. And so I've been there once a week. And then I teach our part of our youth intensive program at our aerial studio. So I will pop in sometimes to their conditioning too, uh,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
do what they're doing. So I have that, and I'm walking. So I try to like on seasons that are busier for me in terms of I can't be in the gym or I can't be working out as much
Mhm.
strength wise, I try to work it into my daily life. So I teach on campus, and so I don't park on campus. I park off campus, which saves me money and forces me to walk about a mile every day. And so
Cool.
there's just some more movement in it. And then I'm in dance classes 4 to 5 days a week right now. And depending on what I'm up to, there's a little aerial in there and there's some flexibility training in there, but not as much in this particular season. That should kick back up in December, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you talked about it as like seasons and like this is what's achievable for me right now. You did the strength intensive over the summer when you had the space to actually do that and like be able to recover from it and all the things. And then once things get busy, like holiday season, like pretty much everybody who I know who even does gigs like casually is so busy right now. And it's like, you know what? Like, you don't need to be doing all the things all the time. And it's not helpful to try and like puzzle it all in every single season. So that's dope that you have that figured out and that you like are living a life that takes care of your body in kind of a natural way too, like with the walking and just what else are you doing as far as like balancing recovery and just like taking care of yourself and all that?
I wish I was doing more, to be honest with you. Epsom salt bath is like my best friend ever.
Yeah.
And then I carry around like golf balls, especially for my feet, with like kind of the mix of walking and dancing. I'm doing a lot of ballet classes and everything just gets tight. So just kind of rolling things out. And then I do feel like flexibility training is a good part of my recovery as well. And I do feel better when I move. So there was a week that just work-wise was unhinged and I ended up having to sit in my desk a whole lot. And I was like, I do not feel good. Don't feel good. And so I do try to encourage people that do have a job where you have to sit or you have to, like you got to be there. Um, just trying to let yourself step away, move for a bit, and come back is both productive. It's productive in both directions, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get like whiplash from sitting at the desk and then going to the studio. Like that was the worst thing about I used to be a school counselor and was performing and teaching along with that. And that's a lot of sitting.
Uh-huh.
And in between, like I would show up to class to teach and be like, why do I feel like I've been hit by a bus? I've just been sitting. But all that little stuff, just like the little golf ball massages and like the walking, it's like everybody thinks that recovery has to be this big, expensive, time-consuming thing. And it's like if you just do little things consistently, you'll feel so much fucking better.
Yeah. You really do. And I'm sure you talk to people about this, but people will ask me, like, because I teach a flexibility class, and people will say, well, how much time a week, like, how many hours a day should I train flexibility? I'm like, I mean, when I was training contortion, like, I would train like several hours, several days a week. But, like, in terms of just like general flexibility, like, I don't train flexibility. Like, I teach my class and then I involve it in all the other things I'm doing. So I just try to use my full range of motion often. And
Yeah.
then, of course, I'm in dance classes and, I add it to the end of my workouts and things like that where I'm
Yeah.
adding it in. And that's not to say you shouldn't like take a flexibility class and like I obviously want people to come to my classes and I think you build things, but it's not realistic to think that every single day we're going to be able to get in like an hour of flexibility and an hour of conditioning and then an aerial class and then a whatever ground movement class you want to be taking. It's just
Yeah.
and have a full-time job and
Yeah.
perform or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people who are new to circus and pole and dance and our whole world come in and start learning about all these things that we're doing. And they learn about like, oh, there's like weekly drop-in flexibility classes. There's strength classes. Like there's all this stuff everyone seems to be doing for your recovery. And like I somehow have to smash all this in. And it's like, no, these are just classes or like focus sessions so that you can learn how to do this stuff. And the idea is not to just like one by one, like stack up training volume until it's like you're training and moving like freaking 40 hours a week. Like that was never the idea. It's just to know how to do it and then like work it into wherever you're like whatever you're gonna do. And I love that you said I'm really just practicing using my range of motion that I have and like maintaining it, it sounds like. And then you have a small flexibility practice on the side to maybe stack some little bricks towards greater ranges of motion. But if you wanted to focus on getting like way, way bendier than you are now, then you would cut back on all the other stuff that you're doing and focus
Yeah.
on that. So I love to see it in action because I do talk about this with people all the time. And I love that you're doing all this stuff and have such an intense relationship with auditioning and your shows that you're in and the one woman show that you're producing, which I want to hear more about in a second. And then you're using all this stuff to bolster it. So it's perfect. I love it. Can you talk about the one woman show that you're producing? What is that? What's the
Yeah.
show?
So the show is called Second Act, and I'm producing it here in Lexington with a local theater called Antagonist Productions. It's gonna be a one night, 50 person like audience. Like I'm actually so nervous about it. And oops, I don't get nervous really. Like I get a little nervous, but for the most part, people don't see me backstage like wringing my hands before I go out. I'm like pretty chill. But it came out of I started doing the artist's way over the summer, and part
Yeah.
of that is like the morning pages. So I started doing these morning pages, and I start thinking like I'd really like to blend all of these things that I do together because I think on paper they can look really disparate, But when I talk to people, I just say, I'm just a storyteller. That's it. I just love telling stories. And when my words aren't enough, which they often are, I turn to like then we gotta climb or we gotta sing about it or we have to dance about it. And it's all about that for me. And in the classroom, I teach freshman communication. And so I talk a lot and I tell a lot of stories. And I was like, I really want to bring that out into the open. But I had also gone on this journey where I was like, vocally, I want to see myself as a singer because I see myself as a dancer, maybe as an aerialist. I don't really see myself as a singer. So I wanted to kind of build that and to challenge myself. And so I started with this idea of like maybe it's a coffee shop show. I do a little storytelling, I do a little singing. And then the chair of the department in the dance program I'm taking classes in was like, that's a really safe idea. Like, of course you can pop into a coffee shop and sing a couple songs. Like, what are you doing? And
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know. So then I was like, well, okay, what I'd really like to do is very rarely when you perform are you going to get cast to do everything that you're good at or everything that you want to show off or everything that's going to challenge you, right? Like you
totally.
you get to perform and either you're in a student show and you're learning skills that you're trying to get better at and so then you have this kind of rougher performance so that because the goal is learning or you get cast in something, you have a gig or something like the gigs. I'm like, I'm not challenged by the gigs, like,
For
and
sure.
I shouldn't be. Like,
Right.
we're not going to be paid probably for those things. So I was like, I know there's more that I could be doing, and I think very often, you have to believe you can do it first, and you have to choose yourself first before casting is going to choose you to do these things.
Mm.
And so anyway, I birthed this one woman show to tell my story in this kind of formatting where I'm going to blend storytelling and singing and a little bit of dancing and a little bit of aerial contortioning all together, and hopefully it'll all be fine.
Yeah, dope. You're taking that concept of believing in yourself first before other people do, like extremely literally and artistically, and that is sick. So, what's the
Thanks.
timeline? Like, did you just start this, or is it? I can't remember when I saw that it was coming out. When's the debut?
The idea, so it's January 17th,
Oh,
and
okay. So kind of soon.
yeah, it's kind of soon. I've been working on it for a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
So, the idea of maybe I would do something like it came out during maybe the summer. And so I've been playing around and I had already contacted the theater and like this has come out of a lot of conversations I've had with different mentors and coaches and that I just think that um in the same way that like a true circus artist might say, okay, well, it's time for me to create my own act now. It kind of came from that, but just like a little bigger, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And I love that it's just this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focused on right now, and this is the purpose of it. Like, it's to showcase the things that I really want to showcase. And I love that you said too that like your gigs should not be what's challenging you because I think a lot of times people think that like their act needs to be like this thing that's pushing them and it's like no 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 you should be working like well within your capacities. So I love that you have these different like ways that you look at different types of performance. So okay. You've already given so many different little nuggets so the listeners can grab onto and put in their pockets and use for tips for like the longevity you talked about, mindset stuff you talked about. Anything else in terms of like what you wish that you learned sooner that people might benefit from hearing?
Oh gosh. I'm really trying to think. I wish that I had learned you can just try things and see where it takes you. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you permission. You don't have to wait for somebody to cast you in their show. You don't have to wait for the perfect time that you have somehow miraculous all this time and money to train these things or do these things or try these things. Like, kind of stop waiting and just start where you're at with the time you have, with the resources you have, and it will build.
Yeah.
Um, because I think we stop ourselves so very often because, well, it's not a good time, or I don't know how to start. I don't know. And I don't know, you know what I mean? It's just start with what you have, with where you're at, and with that acceptance, and with the belief that I will get better. I will figure this out. I don't know how, but you're not going to figure it out just twiddling your thumbs and hoping someone's going to give you the magic bean answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what's worse? Or you're gonna sit around and wring your hands, or you're gonna try something and maybe it doesn't work out the best, but at least you did something.
Yeah, I mean, you have to fail.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
do. And I wish I had been willing to do that because I think for a very long time I was just too scared to say I wanted to go after it because what would people think if I didn't make it?
Yeah. All the people judging you from their couch doing nothing.
Okay, well, let them judge, I guess.
Literally, like this bitch auditioned for Wicked while you were sitting back judging her. So it's funny that we tell ourselves those things, and it's like obviously that's not what was happening. And it's just like such a funny mindset thing to just be like, well, I mean, what is the worst that can happen? And also, like, what are these people doing? Who cares?
Exactly. When I had a duo contortion partner, she moved to Idaho, but when we would train together, we would say the way to awesome is through awkward, and there's no other path. Like
Yeah,
we're trying this new trick, we've never tried it before, it's going to be awkward. Like we're going to feel awkward doing it, but that's the only way.
yeah, 100%. And people, yeah, people need to hear that. And again, I love the curiosity that you approach things with. And it's very one step at a time. Like, it's like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna drive to Atlanta and audition for Wicked. And like, I'm not worried about what happens after that. Like, I just need to go do this. And you're using everything that you'd been through at that point in time as the fuel to just be like, I just need to move forward.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the next step after that is going to be, but I can't just stay where I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. In closing, I have a little game for us.
Okay,
Some slumber
okay.
party vibes. Yes. So it's kind of like Would You Rather, but it's you can only pick one is the very creative name of this game. So
Okay.
I'm going to give you three different scenarios and you can only pick one.
Okay.
Yes. Very simple, but very fun. So
I'm excited.
lean in for the slumber party vibes.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
You can only pick free massages for life, free personal assistant and rigging for all gigs and performances for your life, or free classes and training for life.
I think I'm gonna pick personal assistant.
Ooh, okay. I love that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick personal assistant because I believe in my power I'm like really good at just kind of working myself into a good situation with like training. I think I could
Okay.
probably do it with massage too and just like work out. Like I love a trade. But
Yeah.
if I have a like I really just want the moral support of someone being on a gig with me. Like I have so much more fun. But
Yeah.
also if there was someone to take care of the details of things as a personal assistant, man, I think I could be like doing so many more things.
Yeah. It's the invisible
Yeah.
work with the gigs for real. Like, I know you do
Yeah.
lollipop setting up the X stage. I will pay so much more for someone to set up an X stage for me than like anything else because I hate it. So, yeah.
You
Okay,
think to
cool. Because that's
yourself,
not like
like,
the mental work.
Yeah, I just don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to respond to all the emails about or like poke clients about like, sorry, what's the vibe we're going for? Like, what kind of costuming should I bring? Like, I don't want to do that. I just want to
Yeah.
show up and do my thing.
Okay, so if anyone out there listening wants to be Mary's free personal assistant, there's a payless job for you. It's amazing.
It's gonna be
You
fucking.
have an amazing boss, but you won't get paid. So sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good trade, I think. Yeah.
We love it. Okay, moving on to the next one.
Okay.
Pick one. Would you rather work with the coach of your dreams for a week, get the gig of your dreams, or teaching opportunity of your dreams?
I'm gonna go gig.
Gig. Okay, what is the gig of your dreams? What would that be?
I mean, the gig of my dreams would be like a Broadway tour, Broadway show.
Yeah.
So if that can be the gig, then yeah. I don't know if I have like a specific person that I'm like dying to train with.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like you already have such awesome coaches and you just take it and run with it. So get the
Yeah,
gig.
I do already have really good coaches.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
always
just
makes me
for
so
the
happy
first.
to hear. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. This one's a little bit different vibes. You can only pick one. Would you rather music malfunction, eat too much before going on stage,
Ooh.
or lose your makeup on the way to the performance?
I'm gonna go music malfunction.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
just I feel that if something goes wrong on stage that's not me, I can figure it out. But I don't want to look bad and I don't want to feel bad.
Okay, cool. I love that answer that you're just like, I want it to be something I'm not responsible for because I can work through other people's mistakes, but
Yeah.
like my own shit is on lock.
Yeah. I
So,
definitely don't want to feel bad to perform. That's
yeah. Yeah.
terrifying now.
And eating too much before going on stage is just, I wish that on nobody.
No, because you don't want to be up there and think I'm gonna puke on this audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Mary, thank you so, so much for your time and for being here. The listener, like, there are literally so many nuggets for people to come through and put into practice that will really, really help them. So if people want to work with you personally, like where can we find you? What else are you working on? Just let's roll out the red carpet. Tell us everything about how to work with you and where to find you.
I feel like the best place to find me is Instagram. I'm at
Clearly.
I do have a website. It's circusmary.net. I think one person has ever clicked like the book me my contact page. So Instagram is really a great place to find me. I also have a TikTok that is exists. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, I love to just connect with people. So I think sometimes people are surprised, but I do answer all of my DMs. So people like if you just send me a message and you're like, "Hey, like I am also I want to also hear that you're also doing it because it makes me feel less alone." And so like make a connection. I love the community piece and yeah.
And all that stuff, y'all, is going to be linked in the show notes. So whatever you're listening on, just click into the show notes and Mary's website's there, her Insta's there, all the things. And you have a lot of different offerings on your website as far as what the listeners might want to book you for. Are you still doing the mentorship offerings that I saw on your website?
Yeah, so I'm currently running a lot of flexibility challenges. I'm kind of playing around with like creating community on Facebook. So if you get like I have a online, it's not exactly a program, I call it a library because it's not like a set by set program, but you can kind of pick and choose what videos you want to watch, do some stretches. And then there's a community piece where you can join the Facebook group and ask questions. And I always give like personalized feedback. I also do private coaching through Zoom. So, or if you're local, sometimes somebody contacted me and asked if they said they were going to be in town, and I was like, oh, okay, great. Like, well, we can be like, she's from New York, but she was going to be in Lexington, and I was like, great, we can do a coaching. So, I do private lessons for, more, I would say intermediate dance, but flexibility, specific skills, not so much aerial, but definitely those d dance and flexibility, beginner contortion as well. And yeah, I'm also working on a new mentorship program that I'm hoping to roll out December or January for people who are ready to get back on stage. So you want to, like, what's the blueprint? How do you start? Where do you start? But honestly, if somebody reaches out to me and you want to chat, I'll probably just, send you a couple voice notes and we can chat.
And she answers all of her DMs, y'all, which I struggle with, so I admire you for that. And thank you for answering my DM because that is how Mary came to be on the
Well,
show.
thank you for DMing me. I mean, I think we're always scared to reach out to people, but like, at least I want to hear from people. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so get in Mary's DMs, check out all the stuff that she has to offer. Obviously, an incredible coach, incredible performer. And if you're looking for coaching from her, there's a ton of ways to do it. So, Mary, any closing thoughts or anything you want to leave the listeners with?
just what are you waiting for? No, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I so much appreciate your time. I can't wait for the one woman show. I don't know why I can't say that. The one woman show and all the other stuff you have coming up. It sounds like you're gonna crush it, and we'll all just be watching and cheering you on. So, all right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Off Stage. I will catch you next time off the stage.